Okay, so in today's lesson we're going to be looking at angles. Okay, so first of all we want to think about how angles are made, and that's the first key thing to think about it. So we've already done our points, we've done our lines, we've done our rays, and that's all we need. That's all we need to create an angle. So I'm going to just draw 3 points, A, B, and C. Remember, always labeling with our capital letters. I'm going to draw the ray AB. So remember, that's the line that starts at A, goes through B, and goes on forever. And I'm just going to put an arrow there just so we know. And then the ray AC. I'll draw that as well. Just be really careful with these so I get them right. I'm just going to label these just for my own sake. Ray AB and ray AC. Okay. And now we've made an angle. So all an angle is 2 rays coming from the same point and going in different directions. The area here is what we call the angle. This point here we call the vertex. These 2 things coming off in different directions are called the arms. The area here between the 2 arms is called the inside, and the area around here is called the outside. One more thing to note is that when you are labeling the angle, you usually use a Greek letter, and we wouldn't have come across these before. So we've got this one, which is like an A but with a little extra thing up the top, and it's called alpha. So this is the Greek letter alpha. Then we've got this, which is beta. We've got a Y kind of thing, which is gamma. And then finally, we've got this one, which is like a circle with a line through it, called theta. And those are all our names that we usually use to label the angle. So now that we've got all the main points down, we're going to talk about how do we categorize these into different types. So how do we know what type of angle this is? So we need to think about how to measure an angle. And when we're measuring angles, we use something called degrees. So what we would know is when we're thinking about temperature, if we think about 21 degrees Celsius, this thing here is called a degree. And degrees are what we use in temperature, but it's also what we use in for measuring our angles. And our angles can go from 0 degrees to 360 degrees. So you might ask, why 360? Why? Back in ancient Babylonia, very, very, very long time ago, around 2000 BC, we had a lot of things that were based around the number 60. And I think I mentioned before about why do we have a word for the number 12, a dozen? Well, that's because they used a lot of things base 60. So 12 is a factor of 60. Why do we have 60 seconds in a minute? Why do we have 60 minutes in an hour? Because of this fascination with the number 60. And it follows through to degrees. So our angles always go from 0 to 360 degrees. 360 degrees is a full circle. So a full circle goes all the way around 360 degrees. And that's where we get these numbers from. Okay? So now we're going to have a little look at how to name these angles when we have the degrees. So I have this little printout. I'm going to forget everything around here and just look at this right angle first. They drew it a bit strangely, so I drew it in a nicer way. When we have a line, so our angles are always based off this one thing that stays here and the other one which moves around. So this one always moves around. When it's straight up in the air like this, it's a right angle. Okay, so I sometimes use my ruler and my pencil. I'll show you here. And that right there is a right angle. Okay, so it's going straight up. It's perfect right angle. The next one that we have is an acute angle. So this one is one that's less than 90 degrees. So you can see the arm is a bit closer together. So I'll show you this using the pencil and the ruler. Is if we're here and I move this anywhere down here, that angle's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and that's an acute angle. So we've got 90 degrees, anywhere between 90 degrees and this, all the way down here, is an acute angle. The next one we have is an obtuse angle, which is an angle more than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. So we're at 90 degrees, an obtuse angle is more than 90 degrees, so this arm starts moving this way, and it goes all the way down to just before we hit a straight line like this. It's very important that you realize that it's less than 180, it's not 180, because a straight angle is exactly 180 degrees. So it looks like a straight line, I understand, but it's actually an angle which is 180 degrees, which funnily enough is 90 plus 90, so it's one of these plus another one of those gets you to 180. The next one is when this arm starts moving around. It's called a reflex angle, and it's more than 180 degrees. And then finally we've got a full angle, which has gone all the way around, and it's 360 degrees. Okay, so we're going to go back to the angle that I started with at the very start of this, that I made up. And we're going to ask the question, how do we measure these angles? So I'm just going to show you on this white piece of paper, it might be easier to see. This is called a protractor. In the protractor we have this circle here, and it has a line and a line. It has a little cross in the middle. So remember that vertex we had at the beginning. We want to line this kind of cross up with the vertex. So you put that on the point. We have the line here. That goes along our main line. And then you look up here and you find the number that corresponds to it. So we're going to just have a go with it, with the one I started with. So we put the cross exactly there. We line up that 0 line. And we follow the numbers 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Our line ends up somewhere between 60 and 70. It's actually, I think, 66 degrees. So I'm just going to write that in there, 66 degrees. Before we finish, I just want to go and do another one of these. So we're going to give ourselves 3 points. So while I'm doing this, that last angle was 66 degrees. And if we can remember from just a few minutes ago, 66 degrees means that it is an acute angle. So it's less than 90 degrees. So we're going to call this DEF. And this angle we're going to call beta. Obviously these are rays that go off forever. So I want to know, what is the measurement of this angle? How many degrees is this angle? So I take my protractor, put the cross on the dot, line it up, go around the numbers, and it's something like 138, I think. Yeah, 138. So I'm going to write beta, sorry, not with the degrees, equals, I'll get rid of that. Beta equals 138 degrees. And as we remember, a angle that's more than 109 or more than 90 and less than 180 is going to be an obtuse angle. So this angle here, beta, is obtuse.